Hello, everybody. I'm going to try and do a quick reading here. Hey, you mind moving your tail? Hopefully the barking doesn't get too loud in the background. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway. Hey. Yeah, I know. He hears vehicles outside. Yeah, I know you hear him. I know you do. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. Well, that's one of my little assistants. Who needs a doorbell, right? Hey, you stay out of there. What did I tell you about that? Yeah, chew on that for a while. Exactly. I have some other bones. I'll probably give them tomorrow because tomorrow's supposed to be a rainy day, which today it kind of is also. Anyway, the Fool card. Somebody might be starting over. Eight of Cups. Starting over on their own terms here with the Pirate card. Hey, calm down. It is the end of the month, so it's a good time to think about things like that, right? About what's next. Hangman, Pisces. Queen of Pentacles. Earth signs, Virgo, Cappies, and Taurus. Nine of Cups. Yeah, I feel like somebody has maybe tried to come after your happiness. Like if you've had some kind of, if you've had some kind of new beginning, and it's like they kind of maybe wanted you to be stuck with this Hangman. But you're not appearing that way, collective, with the Queen of Pentacles here and the Nine of Cups. Okay. Four of Pentacles. Yeah. So again, somebody wanting to see you in some kind of lack, but you're like, whatever the situation, you're making the best of it. Sorry, I cannot really see you guys in the chat just because the angle of my device right now, so my apologies there, but please do like the video, especially if you are in the chat today. Remember, you don't have to be a subscriber in order to like the video. You can even comment on the video if you're not a subscriber, which some people have theirs in subscriber only mode, which I could do that. I don't know. I've thought about changing it, but you know, as long as you abide by the house rules, right? I don't see the urgent need to do that at the moment, okay? Now, let's get some confirmation here. Six of Cups. Okay, so this new beginning could be some kind of reunion with somebody, like a fresh start with somebody, okay? And, you know, since it is the Fool card, people could be like, oh, no, why do you want to do that? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, yes, it may be a concern, right? Judgment. Whew. I don't think you're allowing other people to pass judgment on you, collective. You're like, look, the judgment comes from somebody else, not you. You know, it's kind of the same thing as when religions talk about, there's man-made law and then there's God's law. Um, so, you know, if you have kind of gone your own way here with this pirate energy, there could have been people trying to pass judgment on you and all that kind of stuff, and you're like, look, that's not where I go, you know what I mean, to get my approvals from. So, kind of like, remember that scene in Forrest Gump when him and Lieutenant Dan were on one of the boats, and, Lieutenant Dan has his moment out there during the storm with God, right? Because of what had happened to him, right? Forrest is looking at him like, are you okay, Lieutenant Dan? You know what I mean? But it's like, like, don't get too involved, right? Because he had to go through his, even though he was out on that boat away from people, and then he, like Forrest said in the movie, he made his peace with God at that moment, right? Ace of Wands, fire energy. Okay, so yeah, you might be very fruitful. You might have some periods of creativity at the moment, again, where somebody else wanted you to be like stuck doing what, I don't know. It says the imp here, which imp is like a playful energy, but also like an irresponsible type of energy. And I'm not getting that from you guys at all. Okay. So yeah, 7 of Swords. See, you're giving off this Queen of Pentacles energy, and they're being sneaky. And it's like, you don't have time for that. That's the impish behavior. It's like, yeah, that can go out with the trash. I was doing some errands earlier, and I was thinking about that. I mean, there are people that are okay living in trash. That is the standard that they set for themselves, collective, and that's not you. So you have to find somebody on your level. What is it in the Pirates of the Caribbean? It's like that Keira Knightley's character, she kind of develops this, crush on Captain Jack Sparrow, right? And he's out here sailing around, right? But does she really want to live on a pirate ship? Is living on a pirate ship super pleasant? Not really. You know, and some people, I feel like, collective, it's like they wanted to sell you some kind of dream, right? And whereas you're like, well, look, I've put down roots here, I've built my house here, like I'm doing the thing, right? And they thought they were gonna get you to go along with their schemes, whatever it was. Maybe they wanted you to go and be their traveling salesman assistant, you know what I mean? Be like, oh, you're my good luck charm, la 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 la. It's like, no. um and I kind of ran into this one of the last times I talked to one of my exes that I actually had, like, say, a significant relationship with. It lasted more than more than 6 months. um he was talking about his expectations for relationships. He had since broken up with somebody, which, it's like, hey, not everything works out, I guess. um you know and he was saying something like, well, I want this when I want it, and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, well, good luck with that. Like, to me, that's very impish, very immature. Like, do you really think you're going to get far with anybody with that kind of attitude? You know? And, you know, because when somebody says, oh, yeah, I'll respect you, right? What was that old song? Will you still love me tomorrow? But they want to treat you like trash now. It's like, no, you can't have it both ways. It doesn't work that way. So it's like they're picking up those daggers, being like, oh, I guess we couldn't snow them. No. No, you couldn't. And I don't know who the monkey H told you that you were going to be able to, but whoever you were listening to is full of the biggest pile of doo-doo that was ever invented, right? Like, are y'all that friggin' dumb? Some people are. And you have to let them believe that and find out for it's like they're gonna find this out because it's see he can only carry 5 away, and it's like you're just staying here, and they're gonna find this evidence, these 2 swords that are left over here, they're gonna find this, and it will seal the deal in terms of their guilt, in terms of their intentions, in terms of what they thought of you, in terms of all the people they rounded up to do anything to you. And it's like, I hope y'all have been working on your pentacles, because you ain't coming over here trying to make off with mine. Yeah, you hear the dog just growl? That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? You know, but they see you as having this power, this magic, this like, ooh, yeah, I want some of that. It's like, yeah, I bet you do. You know, there was some good dude on the dating app. He's like, oh, I've looked at your picture a bunch of times. Okay. And I guess you just like to look at pictures. You don't actually want to meet nobody. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, at a certain point, collective, you know, nobody has time for that. It's like you either like how somebody looks or you don't. You know? If you were born looking like Barbara Hershey, you're never going to look like Bunny XO. It's just a statement of fact. You know what I mean? So it's like who are they trying to fool? Who are they trying to fool? God, did you see her in the news the other day? She bought some like $500,000 car. It's like, hope she can afford it. I guess she got a big divorce settlement. Who knows? But not every, you know, I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it or whatever, but I'm just saying not everybody's in it for that either. You know what I mean? Which technically it's probably like getting some of her own money back, right? Since she supported him. Yeah, new chapters, world card. Here with this 9 of Cups. So what this is somebody from the old chapter, and it's like, oh, well, I didn't know you wanted to be treated nice and be brought flowers and, you know, be treated like a human being. Right? You're like, duh, you know? And you know, then they're surprised that you didn't want to be treated like trash. Well, where have they been? Oh, well, I'm not around hanging around you getting treated like trash. How about that? Oh, are the rocket scientists here yet today? Are the rocket scientists here yet today? Somebody call NASA. Because I guess you guys are missing an application. Again, collective, it's like you're seeing it before it happens. And they're like, how come this don't work on them? Because not everybody's running around like Boo-Boo the friggin' fool. You know what I mean? Like, after a while, people get out of that, you know, 12, 13, 14-year-old mindset. Some people actually do develop beyond that. You know, I don't know what's up with some of this energy. And maybe it's this full moon is where, you know, some of y'all are seeing it. I am having this notion that a lot of the collective just isn't having the patience for it. Like, and it's like, oh, well, they just snap judged me. No, we didn't. In fact, it was the collective that was being judged, right? And now all these people are just being happy they're still alive, right? Instead of saying, oh, well, I thought it was okay to treat people like trash. Do, 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 do. Like, since when? Since when? You know, when I was talking to my ex, and he's telling me what he expects out of a woman, and I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, I'm real shocked it didn't work out with the last one. You know what I mean? It's like, I know that woman was smarter than that. Good Lord. Page of Pentacles. Yeah. So, again, there could be people, you know, kind of, especially if you have gotten this newbie about it, blah 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 blah, and you're like, I'm good on sharing. I'm good on sharing. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to you know, just because somebody's been in your life previously, like that doesn't mean you have to share all the details currently. You know what I mean? Some people are you know, literally this mummy here mums the word. Some people are on a need to know basis. And also because, right? Because for them, in order to, you know, feel good about themselves, right? They're more than willing to share information about you in the, you know, say in the community or whatever, and be like, oh, well, you know. Oh, well, you know what I mean? Like, as if that's going to be a little tuning peg for them, you know? And you're like, you know, because then they'll be like, oh, well, you know, the collective, they, you know, they've had a rough time. And you're like, yeah, well, still moving on. That's it. You know, this kind of reminds me of one of my relatives. They had a vehicle that didn't go in reverse. And so when they went to park somewhere, they had to park, you know, so that they could just pull out, you know, and they didn't have to back up. You know, it's like you're working with what you got moving forward, and it's like they're trying to pull you back. So just recognize that if there is any weirdness, especially around some of this full moon energy. Okay, so it kind of confirms what was coming through. Again, you got the Fool card again. So it's kind of one of these things where it's like whether they like it or not, you're already on the road. You're already doing the next thing. You're already, you know what I mean, building the next chapter. Whether they agree with it or not, you're already there. What did Charlie Sheen say? Winning, like you're already winning. And it's people like this that are like, oh, I want to find out how I can, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, no, you're not. You're not going to be finding out nothing. In fact, we're going to be finding your fingerprints. We're going to be finding your footprints. We're going to be finding your frickin' DNA at the scene, pal. The way y'all carry on. Okay. Yeah, see moon card here on underneath. Star card as well. Yeah, you're that's all I got now. All right, so thank you for joining this very quick reading. What, day and a half after the full moon. So you might be feeling some of that full moon energy, but realize the light has literally been shown as to say why you had to make a kind of a new chapter for yourself and a separation, why you had to, you know, call pirate in the middle of this whatever, because you're like, no, this is not, you're like, these are not the rules that I want to play with, because when it involves this, it ain't good for nobody. And you saw it coming a mile away. So, you know, that That being said, it is what it is, right? Right. So, you know, they can think you're not serious. They can think you're this. They can, I mean, all these things. Be like, oh, they'll be caught up in this for, like, it's like the bureaucracy of it, right? Like, oh, well, we're not going to give them this report and then we're going to make them go file this report with another agency. So, he, right? Like, no, no, they're not getting away with it. Because it's just like, you're like, oh, I have to do that too. Okay, so then it'll doubly prove how you're lying. You're like, so, let me wave that magic wand, then I'll prove doubly how you're lying. Right? And see, this is why these two sort. It's in one of my lyrics. It's in one of my lyrics to "Living in a Cheater's Paradise." About doubling down. Okay, which obviously is a blackjack gambling reference. For those who aren't familiar with that topic, not that I encourage excessive gambling, but every now and then people like to have their fun, right? And I think that's kind of what you've already tapped into now, collective. And people see that and they're like, oh, but I want to do that too. Oh, and you're like, yeah, but when I was there, you didn't want it. It's kind of like all these online dating things, like, oh yeah, you look great, la la la, and then then they never want to meet you, and it's like, okay, well, either they're married or already have a girlfriend, right? Or they're just not serious, and you are. So you're like, well, why would I go back to talking to that person? So again, whatever this is here with this reuniting with somebody, I feel like this is somebody who's complimentary and how somebody who actually appreciates this new direction that you have taken on. Okay. Um, Obviously, you're not going to be down with that with everybody. Just because you're like, yeah, I do take myself seriously. Yes, I do take my life seriously. You know what I mean? And it's not like it's not like you're so serious you can't laugh at yourself, but it's like, no, I don't want to be living in a trash heap. So yeah, I like to, have my money in order. I like to have my bills paid. Boy, somebody's ancestors are so pissed. Yo. I heard him say something about somebody being ignorant. So, that's the thing too, collective. It's and there's been I think many books written on this topic. But there's probably some YouTube videos out there as well talking about, who are the people that you surround yourself with. Because the people that you surround yourself with and the kind of choices that they make, right, may be reflective of choices that you end up making, right? Or say, for instance, especially when you're younger and you're like maybe, eating a lot of fast food, or, consuming alcoholic, empty calories, things of that nature, right? Whereas when we get older, some of those things shift and change, okay? So, it's like somebody thought that they could treat you as if you were like some teeny bopper that didn't know any better, right? But yet you're grown, okay? And again, it's like they never made it out of this 12, 13, 14-year-old mentality, whereas you did. And, people run around being like, oh, adulting is hard. Well, when you're adult, that's what you have to do. Again, I feel like there was some kind of weird communication collective about, people maybe wanting to take advantage of you. And especially if you were ever down and out, where it's like, yeah, this might only be a small project now, but watch it grow, right? Just like everything else that you've done. The proof is in the pudding. right? And these people are like, oh, thank you for finally showing me the light. You know, and these could be people that you've known for years. And I'm not just saying years, I mean like freaking decades. Decades. And it's like, wow, I guess, you know, and this is where you're like, I don't want to be ignorant like that. They were okay with it. You're not, you know, and maybe that's why, you know, you felt some of this judgment coming off of whoever these people are. You know what I mean? It could be coworkers, friends, family, it could be anybody. Right? Neighbors, you know, community, church community, you know, especially, you know, people that go through separations and divorces. You know what I mean? Not every marriage, you know, obviously was meant to last. You know, is that necessarily the fault of the collective? You know, so what? You're not supposed to start again and choose better the next time? It's like they want you to go back and go with so and so because, you know, they said he's not going to beat you this time, right? And you're like, yeah, I'll pass on that. You know, this is where, you know, you're like, yeah, you got to get past my Kraken first, right? To disturb that kind of Nine of Cups energy. You're like, yeah, I am adulting. No, I am not going to go with somebody who, you know, exhibits that type of behavior. You know, pretty simple stuff, right? And some of this collective is the vision that you had for yourself to begin with. Okay? And now it's more like now that some of this stuff is coming out, right? It's like now you're kind of free of those chains. You're free of those expectations of others where they thought somehow that they could keep you on this defensive energy and all wrapped up and, you know, not saying anything. And you're like, well, maybe you have a lot to say. You know, maybe you're somebody who has a podcast. Maybe you're writing a book. Maybe you're, you know, do live streaming. You know, you know, there's a lot of folks out there that talk about a lot of things. You know, and hey, man, maybe some of these people don't have any of those problems, so they don't never need to talk about them with you. You know, maybe their life is just 100% perfect, and that's why they were such judgy little bitches to begin with. So again, you know, you went on that pirate ship. You saw what it was all about. But, you know, every now and then you got to dock that ship, don't you? I was just watching this comedian talk about talk about being on a cruise and stuff like that. It's kind of reminding me of that. It was pretty funny. What's her name? It's like Kathleen something. Anyway, she was pretty entertaining. So that's the thing too, collective. It's like being able to laugh at, you know, situations and things like that where it is a laughing matter. It's not like, oh, sorry, I tried to literally make you fall on your face and like hurt yourself. You know what I mean? Like you know, these are people that are like, hold my sword, and you don't have like a sheath and they hand you the blade, you know, and it's like, no, we're not doing that. Go find somebody else to be your blood brother, bruh. You know what I mean? Like in the 80s, that was a thing, okay, in case you didn't know. You know, it's like, oh, we're gonna be blood brothers, man, yeah, right? Um, these days, you know you can't really be doing that too because of you know there's diseases and stuff. Anyway, um, yeah. So anywho, and maybe that's some, and maybe that's just one of it's like they had some kind of disease of the mind, right? You know, where they had some kind of rose-colored glasses on, and now, you know, the gloves are off, the glasses are off, right? And you're like, mm-hmm. And you're going to take your little, you know what I mean? Your little wands here and you're like, and that's how we do that. So now we're moving on. Oh, you don't want to get in the ring? You don't want to get in the ring with them gloves, son? No, they'd rather cut themselves than stand up to the music. Okay? They'd rather run away with their tail between their legs than take one square to the jaw like they were delivering to you and laughing about it. Like, oh, look at this idiot coming back for more. And you're like, well, I'm not an idiot, but you could maybe call me a fool because I fooled around with y'all. And I ain't fooling around with y'all no more. Simple as that. Simple as that. Okay. Alrighty. Until next time, please do manifest wisely. Bye-bye.